Just because you have your down payment situated and you're pretty sure of your financing doesn't mean you have all the costs associated with purchasing a home ready and available. And surprisingly, there are quite a different little amounts, tidbits here and there of costs that are associated with purchasing a home. So today we're going to go through all the costs associated with purchasing a home here in Illinois so you're fully prepared and not caught off guard when it comes down to purchasing your next home. Hi, I'm Jake Tysiak, that guy that sells houses, a realtor here in Illinois. And today we're going to be going through the costs associated with purchasing a home here in Illinois. Now, keep in mind, because homes vary in price, there's going to be different costs associated with different ones. But for the most part, if you are looking for a $350,000, $400,000 home, most of these numbers should be on par. But again, keeping in mind price and also size of the home will dictate some different costs. So of course, let's start off with the down payment. Most people are prepared to come up with a down payment. However, keep in mind that with all these costs, those down payments can change a little bit. But traditionally, a lender wants to see 3.5% down in order to offer you financing. Now, that rate that they quoted you might not be 100% accurate. So let's talk a little bit about the mortgage and the costs that are associated with getting financing. Now, when you apply for financing, you're going to want to look through their cost of fees. And unfortunately, this is one of those avenues where I can't really specify how much financing is going to cost, as it will vary a lot. Now, let me explain. Now, traditionally, you'll have some form of origination fee or lender's costs associated with just putting the mortgage together itself. So you'll want to review those fees, as these do change from bank to bank. Now, also, because most of the time, the mortgage is rolled together with your taxes and also your insurance being prepaid by your bank, there's going to be an escrow account that's traditionally set up when you open your loan to then go ahead and pay these costs in the near future. This will also include private mortgage insurance if you do have a financing less than 20% down payment associated with that mortgage. Now, the other big thing you really want to pay attention to when it comes to applying for financing are called points. And what I mean by that is sometimes you'll see rates advertised extremely low and you're like, wow, that looks like a great rate. However, there's often times that there are points associated with that mortgage. Now, points is what lenders use to buy down your rate. So this will be a cost to you up front, and then that will lower your rate and lower your interest over the term of your mortgage. Now, most of the time in today's market, those points aren't really going to be worth it, especially if you're planning on selling your home in the next 10 years. These points will often exceed the amount of money you'll save on your mortgage payment itself. So one of the things, once you've talked with the lender or a couple of lenders, is you're going to want to compare the loan disclosure. This will spell out all of those fees that we just spoke about as far as the cost with the mortgage. All of those prepaid expenses in your escrow account, fees paid to the bank for their services, and of course any points that were used to buy down your rate. So definitely compare those to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples when you are looking at that rate itself. Now that we have the accepted contract, we do need to deposit our earnest money. Now, earnest money necessarily isn't a cost on its own. However, this is a amount of money that has to come up before closing, so I thought it appropriate to mention it here. Earnest money is just going to be held in escrow between you and the seller, usually by one of their brokerages, to make sure everybody's in good faith. And that money then will be deposited, or I should say applied, towards your closing costs or down payment, whichever may vary. And if there's excess, will be returned to you at closing. So not a cost per se, but it is an amount of money that we need to come up with prior to closing. So now that we've got our mortgage squared away, we went out shopping for a home and found a perfect house and have it under contract. Now, there's going to be a few costs that are associated with this next week of being under contract. So first, we're going to want to make sure that the home is in good standing, right? So we want to do a home inspection. Now, traditionally with a home inspection for a single family home, it's going to be around $400. Now, if you are purchasing, say, a condo or townhome, it might be a little bit less. But also keep in mind that this is one of those numbers really based on the size of the home and also any additional amenities, like if there's an building or something like that. These can change these costs quickly. If there's more things to inspect, it costs a little bit more. But keeping in mind, $400 to $500 for a home inspection is a pretty good number if you're just looking at a traditional detached single-family home. Now, along the lines of a home inspection is the radon gas inspection. Now, this would be an additional fee, usually around $200 if you are combining it with a home inspection. And they'll come out, set up meters during the home inspection, and then follow up in a few days to collect those, combine the readings, and give you the results back. Now, if you're curious more information about the radon gas itself, I'll put a pamphlet down below where you can review more information about radon gas. Once we have our home inspection complete, we need to turn these results over to our attorney, who's not only going to be reviewing your documents to make sure that the contract is appropriately worded and enter any modification that they might have, but then they're also going to negotiate, of course, the repairs. Usually the cost for an attorney is going to be around $500, but again, these do vary a little bit as well when you reach out. So discuss that with your attorney, but around $500-600 seems to be pretty common. Now, along those lines, with the home inspection and the radon gas inspection, those will be due at time of service, so either before the home inspection or immediately after. With the attorney, they're nice enough and give us a little bit of a break. This is actually due at closing. Now, however, they won't charge us if we do fall out of contract. At least most of them won't. Some might. But if we do close on a home, those services and costs will be due then. Your home inspection, however, if you do fall out of contract on this home and want to put an offer and do another home inspection on another one, will be a reoccurring cost. So do keep that in mind. So everything's looking good and we are moving along. So next up is financing, and the lender wants to make sure that the house you're looking to purchase is worth how much it says on the contract. So we're going to be ordering an appraisal next. Now, of course, the appraisal does come with a cost, usually around $350-400 for an appraisal. These can vary a little bit depending on if it's FHA or conventional, but anticipate about $400 to be pretty safe. And the appraisal will come out, make sure that the home is up to value, and then on to the next one, which is pretty much closing once we get all those contingencies satisfied on the lender's end. So now we are at closing, and of course we're going to have our attorney there, which we already discussed, and also we're going to have a title company there, usually involved with title insurance, to make sure that the home we're purchasing doesn't have any liens against it or don't incur any liens after it, so you have good title going forward. Insurance is going to come with a cost as well, and this is going to usually be combined with the recording fees as well, responsible for turning into the county, saying that you own this property so everybody is aware. Usually you can anticipate about 1% for closing costs. Now, these will vary a little bit as well, so do speak with your lender a little bit, but that's a good number to start your basis off of. At closing, we are transferring title from the seller to you, and that does come with the tax. Now, state of Illinois, as well as the county level, does have a tax implied in a transfer tax stamp, which is paid by the seller. However, some cities are going to ask for an additional fee as well, paid to them. Now, this isn't every city or municipality, but double check. I'll provide a sheet down below with cities listed and the rate they charge. One of the things you do want to keep in mind is to look at different cities that involve this, because, for example, in the city of Chicago, it is split between seller and buyer. However, as a buyer, they're going to ask for 0.75% of the sales price as a fee for the transfer tax. So that can incur some costs as well. So make sure you're aware of that going forward. Now, one other thing to keep in mind that's not really a cost to you, it's actually a credit. When you do purchase a home in Illinois, taxes are actually paid in arrear. So if you're purchasing a home this year in 2021, you just paid 2020's taxes. Now, of course, you didn't live in the home, so the seller is going to give you a credit for the balance. Now, with your lender opening up a new escrow to go ahead and pay those taxes in the future, most of the time this credit is credited back to you and does go against some of those costs that you did incur with the transfer tax and closing costs. So do keep this in mind, as this can help offset some of those closing costs that are associated with purchasing a home and lower that overall payment. But again, that's going to be a case-by-case basis, but oftentimes it's a few $1,000s that you will be getting credited to you at closing. Now, Jake, I hear you saying, wait a second, what about the realtor costs? If I want to hire you, what does it cost? Well, in most real estate transactions, our commission is traditionally paid by the seller. You see, when the seller agrees to sell their home, they're going to sit down with the listing agent and we're going to discuss price and also talk about what commission will be paid. And then that listing agent traditionally splits commission with the buyer's agent, representation agreement, which is noted in their commission. Now, the purpose of this agreement is to make sure that you're very clear on who your agent is and who represents you, so you can speak confidently with them about confidential information. But again, there is compensation listed in that agreement. Now, keep it in mind, though, most of this is going to be covered by the listing agent and seller, I should say, providing a already agreed upon commission to pay to us as well. Now, in rare occasions, that amount might not be enough to satisfy that number on the contract, and this could come up as a potential cost to you. Now me, I don't ask for any additional funds as most of the time the seller is paying a pretty close enough amount. And I've already discussed my services with you, so all of a sudden at the last minute having something sprung on you is just not realistic. However, some agents do. But if you do want an agent, give me a call if you're still looking for one, and I'd be happy to represent you. But as you can see, there are some different costs that are associated with purchasing a home outside of just the down payment itself. And hopefully this gives it a little bit more clarity to you. So when it comes time to purchase the home, you're not surprised at all. So if you are curious more about costs and prices of homes in today's current market, take a look at our update up here. And also, YouTube thinks you'll like this one here. I'm Jake Tysiak with Keller Williams. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.